books
Yeah,
and
I think
movies.
I'd agree with you there, Justin. I don't know
I
what do you
was
think
happened
about
to be
that, Paul?
around when some of the stuff was being written, so yeah, I definitely know that the Jedi and the fall of the Jedi was specifically intended to be somewhat allegorical to the ties of the church to the state.
Let's talk about the Force. I was talking about this with my 11-year-old Jeremy earlier. I saying, well, I guess maybe the Force could be kind of God. He was saying, but I'm not. He wasn't too sure. What's your take on that, Frank? What is that kind of what would you say? We know it's a battle of good versus evil, but exactly where do the boundaries lie on that, and how is it represented as far as God's concerned? It's never struck me as a particularly theistic universe that the Star Wars
No,
world.
it's not. It's more of a pantheistic universe, and it's an impersonal force. So it doesn't dictate which side you go on. It's just there's a good side and a bad side, but it's not giving you a command because it's not a personal being. It's not issuing commands. And so when you watch the movie as an audience, you know that the Jedi are the good guys and say the Sith are the bad guys or Darth Vader and his crew are the bad guys because you already have a moral law written on your heart. But as Lucas points out, it's morally neutral because it's an impersonal force. So this is not the God of the Bible, certainly. I think Paul would agree with that. But that's okay. I mean, this is a fantasy story.
And the
And
Jedi,
so
they kind of almost strike me though, almost as if there is a religious element to it, they are the priests almost. They're almost these monk-like characters, aren't they? Who kind of steward the light side, let's say, of this force and so on. So the Jedi are almost seen as a religious order. I get the sense in the books and
yeah,
in the
I think
movies.
I'd agree with you there, Justin. I don't know what
I
do you
was
think
happened
about
to be
that, Paul?
around when some of the stuff was being written, so yeah, I definitely know that the Jedi and the fall of the Jedi was specifically intended to be somewhat allegorical to the ties of the church to the state. In George had held I was a Christian the whole time I worked there, so I didn't share George's politics at all. But I was a fly on the wall to know that certainly there was meant to be some monastic things and kind of some commentary on what happens when the church and the state are too tied together, and some of the problems that can lead to. So yeah, for sure, the Jedi Order with there.
Yeah.
And in terms of the Force, yeah, as you say, it's an impersonal force. In Episode 4, in the first film that came out, C-3PO dunks into an oil bath and he says, "Thank the Maker, this feels so good." The Maker is actually a character in the Star Wars universe. So that the Force, even in George's mind, right from the start, there was a Maker of the universe and the Force, and that they were separate things. And the Force was more of an element that came in there. And as you may remember, in 1999, when The Phantom Menace came out, they introduced midichlorians, which were a thing that happened in the Star Wars universe that gave the Force some scientific basis. And I noticed that, myself included, as a Christian, I was outraged. Why are we trying to give a scientific reason for this great mystical thing that you had going? What was once magic? And George actually kind of walked down that path with the films. If you want to see it, it was very mystical in the first ones. In the second one, we could answer it with science. We could take someone's blood and determine how much force they had going. And then you jump to Episode 7 with Disney. They threw Han Solo back in the mix, and Han Solo, who was the ultimate skeptic in the original trilogy, now says it's true. All of it's true. And that was the first Star Wars film I watched as a skeptic, and so it was interesting for me to watch and say, "Oh, that is how I think I would want to be." Is that Han Solo came to that because he saw evidence. Han Solo didn't have to be. He didn't believe because of the stories that he was told. He didn't believe because of eyewitness accounts or legends. It was when he had sufficient evidence shown to him that was repeatable, and he saw it over and over, and that's when he accepted it to be true. So it's this weird journey from mysticism to much less mysticism in the Star Wars universe, which I know some fans don't like, but that's been the trend.